Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this Sunday afternoon video about what's happening regarding Major Hurricane Melissa. It is Sunday afternoon, October 26, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. You all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather look that just came out at 4:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All that we're watching across the Atlantic is still Hurricane Melissa, which is directly to the south of Jamaica as we speak. So we're going to be reloading the latest infrared satellite images. So we're going to be looking at the wider view first, which is showing off her size. Still quite formidable clouds extending all the way into portions of Cuba, engulfing the entire island of Jamaica, and we see clouds still extending down to sections of Colombia, the ABC Islands, and we still have some leftover clouds across portions of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. But clearly we see a very formidable eye right there. A lot of deep convection still, a lot of lightning on the south and eastern side as we speak. And if we load up the close-up, look how formidable she looks. She has that classic donut shape. She has the eye, clear eye. We can see all the way down to the sea, and as you can see, there's a lot of lightning right here on the edges of the eye wall. I mean, this is textbook hurricane. When you open up a meteorology textbook and look for hurricane, this is what comes up, the definition. So we can see the central dense overcast in the blacks, in the grays, and the purples. That is where we have the strongest winds and heaviest rainfall, especially as we come closer to the center. So it's not in the center that the strongest wind and heaviest rainfall is. In the center, in the eye, that's where the calmest part of the hurricane is in general. But immediately around the eye, that's where the the crazy major hurricane winds are located. And the close-up satellite image also highlights the crazy lightning, all of these sparkling white dots, a lot of thunderstorms with these spiral bands and outer bands. And even while the system is out of here, we're still going to be feeling the effects of the outer bands even on Wednesday. And then boy, doesn't seem like Thursday people are going to be going back to school or work, given the aftermath of the system is going to set some people back. It is going to be a very sad situation. But first, we have to get the flooding first. So today was just the beginning. Trust me, the rainfall tells us that we're seeing coming tonight into tomorrow. You're going to see the flooding. People have been wondering where the rain is, what's going on. Some people have started to feel the effects. I've even seen footage of a light post down, some storm surge starting to come into portions of Portland. I've seen the footage. Have you seen the footage? It's all over the internet, Instagram, Twitter. I would highlight it here, but I know if I do that, the video is going to be extra long. In a normal video, I would definitely make a 1-hour video. Alright, so let us look at the latest Euro spaghetti model ensembles. We can see that as of the 12Z run today, this Euro is really still taking the system more towards the west, and then later on when it is maybe in line with Little Cayman, that is when it starts to lift to the northwest, possibly missing Jamaica overall when we look at the black line, which is the average of all of these supercomputer models. Even although we still have some of them that take it to the west of the black line and some of them that take it to the east of the black line across western Jamaica. So we like this little trend. So it is moving more so over water. I hope that is the end result, because boy, nobody here wants that landfall. the GFS. I don't know why the GFS ensembles are so we can't even make out, but clearly it's gonna be moving westward and then across Jamaica. Definitely still landfall, but I don't know why they made it like this. It's so wide. We can even see Canada, and is this Greenland or Iceland, one of those countries. Either way, still the same track. And the intensity model guidance has it at category 4, even though we see one of the models taking it up to category 5. So is category 5 still on the table? They stated that by around Monday it should be category 5, and then possibly move up into Jamaica as category 4. So let us see. Even though the intensity model guidance here, most of the models remain at category 4 over the next 24 to 36 hours, then it starts to decrease, because more than likely it's going to be crossing over land by this time. So within the next 36 to 48 hours, making landfall. So as soon as landfall comes in and it loses the very warm Caribbean seawater, crossing over land, category 3, then category 2, and then the rest. Regarding the latest here from the Hurricane Center, so this is the official projected path. It is now packing 140. Well, let's reload it. Sorry, so that's the 2 p.m. update. Sorry, so this is the 5 p.m. update, which is the actual 4 p.m. Jamaica time update. Okay, so this just came out 17 minutes ago, considering that it is 4:18 p.m. right now, and as you can see, it is now packing 145 mile per hour winds. Okay, it is moving towards the west at 5 miles per hour, still moving quite slowly. And we see how far the tropical storm force winds have been extending. I've definitely been getting another tropical storm force winds in my part of St. Thomas. I think I've had about a good 70 power outages from morning on and off. It's crazy. And as you can see, still expected to maintain that major hurricane status 2 p.m., 2 a.m. on Tuesday, and then landfall on Tuesday across Jamaica. Still under a hurricane warning in the red, and now they've also issued a hurricane warning for southeastern Cuba, and they still have the tropical storm warning in the blues for portions of southern Haiti. And it's going to be a sad situation. It's a 145 mile per hour system right now. That systems that pack anywhere from 130 to 156 mile per hour winds are classified as category 4. We spoke about that this morning. It was 140 this morning, now it is 145, so it has increased just a little bit. And if we take a look at the Saffir-Simpson scale, we spoke about this. Category 4 systems cause catastrophic damage. Okay, so anywhere the eye makes landfall, there's going to be damage for sure. Roofs ripped off, glass blown out, whether it be windows on houses or windows on cars or windshields, light posts down, branches of trees, if not the whole trees itself. And sometimes we get some of the vehicles, especially the smaller ones, to move or even flip, considering that some of these category 4 or 5 systems sometimes have some isolated tornadoes within them. Yes, we can get tornadoes in Jamaica if we get the right conditions. So we see the track, that westward track, then northwest, then west, then northwest, then east southeast, then northwest, then west southwest today. And we're grateful for the west southwest movement, because trust me, if it had maintained that west northwest or just pushed westward directly, I wouldn't be here right now making a video because some of these very heavy rain bands would have pushed into my part of St. Thomas. So I'm glad to see that the majority of the heaviest rain bands were staying out to sea, but we're still in for a lot of rainfall within the next 24 to 36 hours before it actually makes landfall around the 36-hour time frame. And we see how far the tropical storm force winds extend in the gold, and we see how close the hurricane force winds in the browns are to the center. Okay, Jamaica still under hurricane warning as stated. Well, let's reload it a bit. Alright, there's the updated one. So not really different, so just a little west it is what it has pushed. Still under a hurricane warning. Southeastern Cuba, as you can see there, no hurricane warning for them. And that's basically the trend for today. West southwest, then west. Okay, so we're awaiting the 10 p.m. update that's going to be showing a different track, but this is the current track. Let us reload it. Now we have the very latest to show. Alright, so the latest track right here on the past track. So we saw what it did with that west southwest movement, then category 3, then category 4, all the way to the west. So it's right here right now, directly to the south, in line with the longitude of Clarendon. And as you can see here, it is expected to make it up to 155 mile per hour wind by around 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Monday. That's about 1 a.m. Jamaica time. 155 mile per hour wind. You know, we're talking about high end category 4, so just 2 miles per hour shy of becoming a category 5. Okay, and then where did it go? So many tabs open. Okay, and then after that we are talking about 160 miles per hour, so it's definitely, you know, making it up into category 5 territory. We know that anything more than 157 is category 5. So that is what it is, you know, saying from the Hurricane Center by 1 p.m. on Monday. And then we've been seeing the trend that, well, look at that now, 160 mile per hour winds by 2 a.m. on Tuesday. So will it actually continue to decrease in intensity like what the Hurricane Center stated right before landfall, or will it actually make landfall as the category 5 that we see here? That's the big question. And then as you can see here, definitely going to be downgrading in intensity back to 130 mile per hour wind, still category 4 by the time it is crossing the island right here across the north coast. So we see that coming into St. Elizabeth. My God, St. Elizabeth, we know they have a lot of farming going on. It's going to set back these farmers so bad. And then they know everything is going to raise. You know, we get most of our crops from St. Elizabeth. I know they're going to raise. There's going to be some crazy inflation coming, and I don't blame them. This is basically the same thing that happened last year. Burial, I know, another blow to that parish, the breadbasket parish. It's going to be a very sad situation. That's if the system actually, you know, continues along this line. As I've stated before, it can go anywhere within the path. Hopefully it does a thing like this. It's still in the corner of uncertainty, but at least it would be out to the west. It can still do a thing like this across maybe Westmoreland into Hanover into St. James. It can also still do a thing like this across Clarendon into St. Anne, St. Mary. It can even still do a thing like this coming right over maybe Kingston, maybe St. Thomas, Portland. So we definitely have to stay updated to see what really unfolds. Alright, so regarding the waves. So yes, we've been talking a lot about the waves. Remember, storm surge is very devastating, especially along the coastline where we have some low-lying areas, and we're talking about some high waves. So anywhere from 7 to 13 foot can happen. Look at this, 6.7 to the south of Kingston and St. Thomas. This is by 7 p.m. this evening, but let us go out in time, close to the time of landfall. Should be somewhere in here. 6.4, 5.3, a lot of 6s, a lot of 7s, and more than likely, you know, all of this is going to be piling up and then pushing in. So it's not going to be like one big giant wave. It's just going to be flowing like a river, pushing into low-lying areas. That is what storm surge does, and then it all piles up, and sometimes we get some crazy flooding. Okay, so the waves are going to be ridiculous as we continue to head from Sunday into Monday, especially Monday. And that's because of the winds that are expected. The tropical storm force wind probabilities still high, taking it up to the purpose. There's still 90% chance, no change, of having a lot of tropical storm force winds across the entire island as we head throughout Sunday, as we head into 6 p.m. time frame, 10 p.m. time frame. And then we head into Monday, and we know we're expecting that southeasterly flow, a lot of rainfall with that southeasterly flow. And then you see it making the turn and pushing towards us, and it is the slow push towards us that's going to be bringing us our heaviest rainfall out here in the east. And then, you know, all of the strongest winds that are about to lash this part of the island. And, you know, we're talking about the category 4 wind speeds anywhere from 130 to 156, anywhere from 113 to 136 in terms of miles per hour and knots. Alright, so we're going to be looking at the latest Euro model that came out today before the GFS model drops. The 18-0 starts at 4:30, and the time is now 4:26 p.m. So let us see what the latest 12-0 run from the Euro shows. So for reference, this is the timestamp here at the top. So we're just going to be going out to the next 96 hours. That's the next 4 days. So we're stopping by about Wednesday. This system should be out of here. We can see the system right here to the south of Jamaica. And then as we continue to go out in time, we see that it's, taking the system on a westward trek and then starting to lift as we head into 12Z on Monday. That's 7 a.m. Starting to lift right there, 21Z, that's 4 p.m. And we see, by the way, look at the crazy rainfall on the southern and eastern sides. The dark greens into the yellows, oranges, red. That's some crazy rainfall. That's when the place is going to flood out. Monday for sure, and then pushes northward, makes landfall into what looks like western Jamaica, and then pushes northeastward into central Jamaica. And I hope that you know your parishes. I remember there was somebody who said, if we could explain, you must be new here. I always do this, but let me do that. So western parishes, those parishes in the county of Cornwall. So Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth. This is where the system wants to go. Do something like this. And then it goes into central Jamaica. So you're talking about maybe St. Anne. And we have, those parishes in the county of Middlesex in central Jamaica. St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. And those parishes in the county of Surrey. The eastern parishes, we're referring to Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. So we saw that the Euro has it pushing to the northeast into southeastern Cuba, hence why they have a hurricane warning into southeastern Cuba. The GFS, that's the 12-0 run that came out today, pushes the system to the west, and then what happens next? 0Z on Tuesday, that's 7 p.m. on Monday, starts to lift the system to the north, and then we see that it makes landfall basically the same spot, western parishes, if not central parishes, somewhere there as a formidable hurricane, and then pushes into southeastern Cuba. So it's going to be a very bad situation in general. It's a sad situation, unfortunately, and all of this rainfall is going to be accumulating. We've been talking about the crazy rainfall totals that we're expecting. All of these purples into the pinks, into the peaches, into the blues, that represents anywhere from 3 all the way up to the 25 inches of rainfall range. And it could be even more than that in some isolated spots, just like what the Hurricane Center has highlighted in their latest update right here. Look at the latest update. Still showing all of these pinks, if not purples, if I'm not mistaken, across central parishes into eastern parishes. So anywhere from St. Elizabeth eastward, a lot of rainfall expected. We're talking about what we see here on the key on the right, 20 to 30 inches. That's 500 to 750 millimeters of rainfall over the next 4 days. And then we have the purples in Portland, 30. Well, not even Portland, the Blue Mountain Peak, because we have 2,256 meters, and then when we get those clouds to go over the Blue Mountain, those clouds are gonna be rising even more, get heavier, and squeeze out even more rainfall over there. My goodness, up to some crazy 40-inch totals, off the charts. Western Jamaica, so St. Elizabeth into St. James and Trelawney, the dark reds, 16 to 20 inches, 400 to 500 millimeters. Western Jamaica clearly going to be getting the least amount of rain. We are starting to see an increase. If you remember this morning, we saw more greens. Now we're seeing some yellows into the golds, into the oranges. So some 4 to 6, 6 to 8, even 8 to 12 in some isolated spots. But clearly it's the central to the eastern end that is going to be flooding out like crazy, and we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS modes are in agreement with this, and even the close-up is showing something similar. I mean, I've never seen a 4-day total with so many purples and grays. We're talking about 150 to 500 millimeters or more. Somewhere is gonna flood out. Somebody's yard is gonna flood out. There's gonna be swollen rivers that burst their banks. There's gonna be landslides. There's gonna be breakaways. There are gonna be a million more potholes that weren't there. So yeah, this is gonna be a very bad situation in general. So I hope and trust that people who know that they live in flood-prone areas are, taking the necessary steps, that they're not that drastically affected by what is to come. All right, so regarding what's happening now, the latest visible satellite images right here clearly shows Jamaica blanketed in the whites. That's the clouds associated with Melissa pushing in from east to west. But we can see it all even better on the infrared though. All of these greens, yellows, oranges and reds, especially across my part of the island, St. Thomas, we've definitely been getting in on that rainfall and wind, even though the system is towards south, spinning away with a very formidable eye. We've been getting that rainfall for sure throughout the day today, and the latest Doppler radar images confirm this. We're glad to see that we have a Doppler radar working. I mean, look at the eye of the system right here. Look at the system to our south, and I think they zoomed it in for a second, but look at the eye wall around the eye. That's the strongest winds and the heaviest rains, and we have a lot of different rings, and you know, a lot of heavy rain bands, and as of right now most of it is to our south, but trust me, it's only a matter of time before a lot of this starts to, you know, push right into us. Some places are going to start flooding as early as tonight. Tomorrow is going to be crazy. Okay, but this is what the Jamaican Doppler radar imagery is showing. Let us reload the very latest one though. Okay, because yes, we have cloud cover over an area right now, but what is it really like underneath these clouds? Is it actually raining underneath this? I'm actually getting some rainfall in my part of St. Thomas right now. Let us see what is really happening. So let us load up the latest timestamp here. So that's 2120 Z, which is actually around 4:20 p.m. Okay, so that's the 4:20 p.m. image right here. Am I right? Yes, 4:20 p.m. Right, 21Z, 4:20 p.m. So that literally just came out 13 minutes ago, considering that it is 4:33 p.m. right now. And as you can see, we have that eye right in here. We have the crazy central dense overcast with the strongest winds and heaviest rains right in here. We have that nice, you know, feeder band right here on the north and the eastern side, getting ready to push itself into our southern parishes. So we're gonna be getting nailed. We're gonna be getting some heavy rainfall tonight, especially in, you know, the southeast first, then pushing west or west northwestward as the evening into the night progresses. So that is where you're gonna start getting in on the crazy flood rainfall accumulating. And the Jamaican Doppler radar, you know, definitely highlighted it better because we can see the eye, but the Cuban Doppler radar is a bit too far to see the eye, but we see the moisture to the southeast of us right in here. That's getting ready to push into us, especially into St. Thomas where I live. So I'm definitely going to be getting it. The Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar showing some rainfall between Haiti and Jamaica. We also see some isolated shores right here to the west of Jamaica near the Cayman Islands. And we even see that it has been soaking wet today in the halfway tree area. A lot of people are on the live today. I hope that we're all, you know, joining you know, the weather page here. We have Weather Jamaica, we have See Jamaica. So if you haven't been subscribed to this channel, you need to fix that. You have live streams all over the island. So we have the halfway tree camera right here, and this just proves that we've been getting in on some rainfall for sure. And there's a lot more to come, and it's not only the halfway tree cam, we even have the flat bridge camera right here with another power outage right there. Did you hear the beep? Just had another power outage. I've been getting power outages like crazy, but luckily with my desktop computer here I have a little battery backup that lasts me at least a minute or two. So I'm grateful. So we can see the rear Cobra, definitely a bit murky, but you know, as soon as the rear Cobra gets some good rainfall, flat bridge is gonna be covered, and I'm sure a lot of people are watching out this camera because they know that that is gonna happen as soon as the rain begins. But let us talk about the actual 1 hour total rainfall rates that are expected. So let us head up to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 p.m. Jamaica time. I mean, look at the rainfall that is being predicted. First of all, this is where the system is, so that explains all of the greens, yellows, oranges, red, purples. So you know it's still to the south of us by that time, moving so slow. But the GFS is starting to send some of the crazy feeder bands that we just highlighted right into me in St. Thomas right here. So will I even be able to go live tonight? I might not, because look at Portland, look at St. Thomas, St. Andrew, maybe Southern St. Catherine into Southern Clarendon. We also see portions of St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary shaded in some of those blues. Then skipping ahead now, do we have agreement? regarding the 12 a.m. Time frame. So that's midnight tonight on the Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 11 p.m. Jamaica time. And look at the differences. We see a lot of colors, a lot more colors, which means heavy rainfall, especially for our eastern and our central parishes. The GFS showing something similar, nosing a lot of this moisture even into central parishes. So those persons who haven't been getting the rainfall, trust me, the rainfall is coming. Look at this one, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 4 a.m. We might just be waking up to our neighborhoods flooded out if this actually verifies with this amount of rainfall that's expected to push in from east to west. And don't be surprised if the system stalls overnight or does some kind of foolishness, maybe zigzag or wobble to the north and then dip back south. The system is moving slowly because of weak steering currents, and as of right now it is moving to the west at 5 miles per hour. It's a bit too close for comfort, so anything can play later on in the night and send us some strong rainfall. So that was 5 a.m. which is 4 a.m. Jamaica time. Still a lot of rainfall, especially coming into May. Then by 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 a.m. Jamaica time, look at the crazy rainfall. Eastern and Central parishes, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney. Clearly the western end not really getting in on much, but some rainfall is expected. That's the Euro. The GFS, does it show the same? I mean, I've never seen 1 hour totals like this before. Greens into the yellows, oranges, reds, pinks, whatever, purple. That's a lot of rainfall, you know. This is why the place is going to flood, because tomorrow alone, the amount of rainfall that this system is going to be bringing us because of its slow movement. And then look at this, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that's about midday on Monday, the entire island being flooded out all at once. Then heading into 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's 4 p.m. Jamaica time, still getting in on that moist southeasterly flow as the system, according to the Euro, begins to start lifting northward to make landfall into maybe the southwestern end. The GFS still has the system here, but we see a lot more rainfall still expected by that 4 p.m. time frame. And finally, the Euro starts to bring it up into us. You know, that purple would have been the northeastern eye wall, and then that little gap right there would be the eye. That's about 10 p.m. getting ready to make landfall on Monday. The GFS though still has the system down in here at that time, 10 p.m. So we have some differences in the modeling. We'll see how it actually plays out as time goes on. We definitely have to stay updated. Either way, the rainfall totals over the next 24 hours. We're talking about all the rainfall that's expected from now up until the end of the day on Monday. Look at the crazy rainfall totals that we're seeing here over a 24-hour time period. Just tomorrow alone, I'm going to flood out the whole country. And imagine, we see reds into dark reds, into purples, into pinks, into peaches. That represents what? 5.92 in St. Elizabeth, 8.12 in Manchester, 6.05 in Clarendon, 5.31 in Kingston, 8.56 in St. Thomas. We're talking about 19.8 in St. Thomas and GFS. What? 12.93 in Portland, 16.36 in Kingston, 10.5 in Clarendon. And just for reference, the rain that flooded out Kingston on September 19, where there was a lot of footage, that was just 3 inches of rainfall. So we're going to be getting this in a 24-hour time period. Teens, we're going to flood out. There's going to be landslides. There's going to be a crazy situation unfolding here in Jamaica. Alright, so I hope everybody stays safe. That's it for now. Thank you all for watching.